Hello, fellow duelists. This is Shadow of the Moon, and welcome to the last spooky deck profile for Halloween of 2022, October of 2022. And I thought that I would end this with a special deck profile, one that is actually my wife's deck, which is the Skull Servant. I cannot think of a better Halloween deck profile to showcase than Skull Servant, considering Skull Servant is a very, very powerful deck that has one of the best win ratios due to the fact that the monster always constantly keeps coming back. You can't get rid of it. And it even has its own hand trap in the form of white baking. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, I just want to explain a few things. First off, this is my wife's deck, so please be kind and be patient and be respectful for this. She does play cards that are considered that would be limited to 1, and she runs them at 3. This is just meant to be a fun deck profile. This is not meant to be serious. So please refrain from any negative comments or post anything on here, and just understand that this is meant to be fun. She does not follow the ban list with this deck. If she did, it would look a little bit different. So thank you very much for that. And now, finally, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, we're going to be playing the 3 copies of the Skull Servant, the original Skull Servant, which was printed in LOB, Legend of Blue Eyes, back in 2002. Released into the American TCG. And it's just funny because Skull Servant, I think Konami really generally had consisted thinking about using Skull Servant as an actual archetype, because if you read the card text, it says a skeletal ghost that isn't strong but can mean trouble in large numbers, meaning this whole entire deck would be based off of large numbers, considering King of the Skull Servants, White Baking, White Mare, White Prince, and all the above. So the object of this deck is to be able to creepily get all these guys easily into the graveyard to pump up the next guy in the deck, which is the main guy. And actually, I don't know if they do have a holo version of this. I would love to receive it. But 3 copies of King of the Skull Servant. So basically, when the original attack of this card becomes the number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servant cards in your graveyard times 1,000 points. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard as a result of battle, removed from play, one other King of the Skull Servants or Skull Servant card to special summon this card. So it does lower its attack, but mainly what you're going to be using it for is by the time it's lowering its attack, it's still going to be about 6,000-7,000. There's still no way to get around that. Then we've got 3 copies of the White Mare. White Mare is a great extender. Oh, sorry, wrong card. 1 second. White Mare is a great extender. Sorry for that blunder. Because White Mare is, or White Prince, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can remove a Skull Servant and 1 Lady in White from your hand or deck or in graveyard. This can banish 2 Skull Servants in this card in your graveyard. Special summon a King of the Skull Servants from your deck. This card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. So this adds to the body count of the Skull Servants. And then we've got 3 copies of White Mare. I meant to say White Mare Prince before and ended up saying White Mare. So White Mare, 3 copies of this guy. And basically this card, his name is Become Skull Servant while it's in the graveyard, and you can discard this card to activate one of the following effects. You can target or banish Skull Servant or White Mare, return it to the graveyard, and then target one of your banished Lady in White or King of the Skull Servants and special summon it. So really, really does help, especially if they do not destroy it by battle and they destroy it by card effect and they get rid of it. It's another way to be able to bring it back. And then we've got 3 copies of the White Baking, which is actually the hand trap. So this card name becomes Skull Servant while it's in the graveyard. If a level 3 or lower zombie type monster I control will be destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can discard this card instead. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 2 monsters with different names from your deck to the hand, except White Baking, that are either Skull Servant or especially list Skull Servant in its text. Then discard 1 card, and you can activate this effect once per turn. So this is not only going to help you protect your Skull Servants if they get targeted, because obviously everything in this deck is going to be a level 3, mainly a level 1, will help you negate that and be able to discard it and add more fuel basically to the fire to be able to put more of them into the graveyard and then add them to your hand. And then we've got 3 copies of White Princess. White Princess basically stops the opponent monster dead in their tracks. So now this card's name becomes Skull Servant while it's in the graveyard. And if this card is normal special summoned, you can send 1 White Prince from the deck to the graveyard. During either player's turn, you can send this card from the hand or field to the GY. All monsters currently on the field lose 300 attack and defense and their own level and rank times 300 until the end of the turn. So very, very deadly, because if they are bringing out synchros or they're bringing out rank monsters and stuff, it is going to completely shut them down, because obviously everybody's going to be playing with high level ranks cards like Zeus. Zeus is a rank 10. That's going to be 300 times 10. That's going to be losing basically 300 attack or 3,000 attack points. So yeah. And then we've got 3 copies of the Lady in White. Lady in White is a great protector for this deck, because face up level 3 or lower zombie type monsters on the field, except her, cannot be destroyed by battle and are unaffected by spell and trap effects. If this card's name becomes Skull Servant while it is in the graveyard. So this is going to really protect your Skull Servant, make it to where they cannot destroy it. And then 1 copy of Jackal Bolin, which is a great tech card for this deck. You can discard a zombie-type monster, special summon this card from your hand. During either player's main phase, quick effect, you can target 1 zombie-type monster in the graveyard, special summon that monster, but banish it when it leaves the field, then banish this face-up card into the end phase. So this is going to be a really good way to be able to bring back your King of the Skull Servants, and it's a great way. It's a special summon, so it's another body on the field. So that's going to be it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells. So obviously, 3 copies of your Book of Life, because Book of Life is the main card in the deck. I would not recommend having Zombie Reborn, because Zombie Reborn will banish your monsters. The object is for you not to. You want to keep them in the graveyard. So this is a very good tech card, because this not only does that, but also can banish your opponent's monster from their graveyard as well. So then we have 3 copies of Foolish Burial. Once again, I cannot stress that enough. Please do not downvote this video because of that. This is her choice. Personal preference. She does not play with the TCG rules, so she's choosing to play 3 Foolish Burials. So it's a great card to be able to dump more of your Skull Servants into the graveyard to be able to protect you. And then we've got 3 copies of 1 for 1. Same thing goes for that. It is limited to 1, but she is playing at 3. Discard a monster card to special summon a level 1 monster from the deck. Okay, and then 2 copies of Call the Mummy to kind of give you better support, because Call the Mummy will make it to where you can get an extra special summon for that turn. And then we have 2 copies of Unexpected Die. Unexpected Die will special summon a Skull Servant directly from your deck. And then 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon for back row destruction. And then we have 2 copies of Where Art Thou. Where Art Thou is a great tech card, because if you control a face-up level 1 monster, add a level 1 monster from your deck to the hand during the end phase of the turn. You take 1,000 damage if you do not normal summon the added monster, which is very, very, very easy to do, obviously, which is what you're going to be doing. And then 2 copies of Barrow from a Different Dimension, so you can bring back the banished monsters and put them back into the graveyard to increase King of the Skull Servant's attack. Then we have 1 Dark Hole just for a field wipe. And then that's going to be it for the main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. So we have Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep is going to work with the Link, and they're going to be working with the Exceed materials, obviously. Then you've got Witch's Apprentice, because everything in this deck is the Dark type, so this is going to give them an extra point boost. And when it is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add a Dark monster with 1,500 or less attack from your deck to your hand, which is basically everything in this deck. And then we have 3 copies of Link Karibo, because this is going to stop any crazy plays, because this is going to negate the battle damage, and then you contribute a level 1 monster to negate, special summon it back from the graveyard. Then 2 Relinquish Anima. Anima is great because it will steal your opponent's monster, and because you can target a face-up monster, this card points to equip to that face-up monster. This card maxes 1. You can use this effect once per turn. This card gains attack equal to the attacking monster's attack, meaning that you just use it to equip the monster and you steal it. It's kind of like a snatch steal. Then we have 1 Salamangreat Almirage. Almirage is great for being able to protect your monsters. And then we have 2 copies of Baby Trigon. Baby Trigon, I know, is a weird tech card, but it actually does work in this deck because it requires 3 level 1 monsters, and during your main phase, you can attach a material, then target a level 1 monster you control, and you can attack your opponent directly. So obviously, the object is to use this. Have King of the Skull Servants obviously going to have about 9,000 attack power, and attach a material, and swing for game. And then we have 1 copy of number 13, Embodiment of Crime, and copy of 31, Embodiment of Punishment. These are actually a very, very good tech card because once returned during either player's turn, you can attach an Exceed material from this card, change all monsters your opponent controls to face-up attack position, and all monsters your opponent controls must attack this card if able to. When you control a number 31 embodiment, this card gains these effects, so obviously you get them on the field at the exact same time. This card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects if it has Exceed material, and your opponent takes any battle damage you would instead of battles involving this card. So as you can see, it's there to protect it, and it will make it to where they have to attack it, and they're going to take battle damage depending on it. Then Sylvian Princess Sprite. So Princess Sprite is an adorable card, and basically you can attach an Exceed material to excavate the top card of your deck and add, if it's a spell or trap card, you can add to your hand. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard, and you can send one other plant type monster, but you're going to be focusing mainly on getting the spell and trap effect, and then also using that to kind of fuel your graveyard because you're going to be sending Skull Servants massively amount to the graveyard. Then you're going to be using Ghost Trick Doll Hand. Doll Hand, it gains a 200 attack for each Ghost Trick monster, obviously, but mainly what you're going to be using this is once per turn. You can attach a material from this card, then target a face-up monster on the field, half its attack, and the end of the turn, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target other Ghost Trick, so you're going to be using it to half the attack of the monster. And then lastly is a nice little tech card, and I know that most people don't play this, Critical Assembly 90 Gale. This is going to prevent your monster from being attacked, and you can also do, depending on how much materials it has for it, makes it to where it'll be able to attack directly, and you'll be able to attack that many amount of times. So if you have 2, it has 400, but can attack twice, and so on and so forth and everything. But it also can protect itself because you can attach a material, and basically any battles involving this card or any of the cards would be 0. Alright, so that's going to be it for this deck profile. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said before, this is her deck. This is her personal choice. So if you have any problems, I'm sorry. I don't really know what to tell you. She does not play by the ban list. She does have a lot of stuff that is. But for the most part, if it's that, I'm just going to allow her to play it because I think that it's unfair for anybody to be like, oh, you can only have one copy of 1-for-1 or one Foolish Burial, even though it is not really that good of a card per se. So, yeah. And this is her personal choice, and I respect that because that's just the kind of decks that she likes to play. She loves her Skull Servant deck, and I can't imagine really changing it. But I hope you guys, all in all, for the last final video, did enjoy this spooky themed deck profile month. I had a lot of fun doing this. This is the second time, so I maybe plan on doing it again next year because next year I'm still going to be making videos, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much. You guys have a happy and safe Halloween. Stay safe, stay healthy, and with that, I'll see you guys next time. Happy Halloween!